Hello, welcome to Matters of Decorum. I am Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. It's a bathrobe day. I'm still drinking coffee. Jumping the shark. Jumping the shark's the phrase for when a television show or some other media, something that's episodic in nature, suddenly does something so ridiculous and outrageous, does something that is out of character for what you have expected before in that property, that it takes it to almost a different kind of entertainment. It introduces something that's just absurdist or raises the stakes so high that the show becomes unrecognizable. Often it's the death knell for a show. It's funny, I was watching the show that invented that phrase, Happy Days, American television show, sitcom from the 70s, early 80s. And one of the characters, Arthur Fonzarelli, played by Henry Winkler, who could just do everything magnificently. It was kind of a joke. He'd start and stop the jukebox just by giving it the right fist bump. He had to completely, he could ride a motorcycle, and he was pretty athletic, and he did some stuff. And one episode, he had to be pulled on water skis so he could jump over a pool full of sharks. Just flat out do some Evel Knievel jumping over sharks. And that's where we got the phrase. Funny thing, that wasn't a death knell for Happy Days. That started when Happy Days they went on to have their best season ever after that. Other shows didn't fare so well with their shark jumping attempts, as it were. Shark jumping happens in role-playing games too, particularly your weekly game. Game master's running along and things are happening, and suddenly the game master runs out. There's, suddenly the next idea is not going to work. Characters have gotten too high in level, and you're looking for a challenge that can get them some challenge. You run out of ideas, and the next thing that comes into your head is just ridiculous, and you run with it. The adventure that you're writing actually has a shark jumping moment written into it, and you just run that, and you have jumped the shark. Suddenly, you introduce something big or vastly altered the stakes, changed the reward structure or the power structure. You've beaten the king, but now the emperor down the road is much bigger and much tougher, and it's a entirely different set of campaign circumstances. You jump the shark. And the sad thing about jumping the shark in an RPG is you rarely know it until after you've done it. And now it is that shared event at the table that everyone just takes as canon. Well, it happened while we're all here and rolling dice. And what do? You try and run with it. Not every game's going to survive jumping the shark. Suddenly this is not the game everyone's used to. It happened in campaigns I was running when I took a break and someone else picked up. And suddenly that person had other concepts for the game and they wanted to go in a different direction. And so, first 5 minutes of the first session, they just change all the circumstances that people find themselves in, and the thing you can rely on, you can't rely on anymore. And that stuff that's been giving you all these powers, you don't have that anymore. Now you need to go and do some other stuff. I have seen people tear up their character sheets and walk away from that game. Because suddenly it's not that game anymore. Suddenly you haven't done that. If you're going to switch GMs or switch out stuff like that, that needs to start with group consent and not be dropped on top of the group to see whether they consent or not. That should be something where you're talking these things through. I'd like to try this with the campaign. What do you folks think? But once you have jumped the shark, you only have a few choices. You can recognize, well, you know what? We've changed the campaign, and it's not what we're interested in anymore. Retconning that is kind of a rough thing because there's some people just won't retcon their games. And I appreciate that. Like, we've established a history. We got to keep moving with it. At the same time, this is beer and pretzels night, and you can't really just take everything there is biblical. Okay, that didn't work out. Let's scratch that, go back and redo that session, see if we can't end up at a better place. I got a grip on this. Let's go. That's not a terrible solution. Sometimes you have a rewrite. Sometimes you have a retcon. Sometimes you gotta fix things a little bit to move ahead. If not that, you can try and auger things back the way they were. And this is what has worked most often for me. Your mileage may vary, but this is what I do when that shark jumping occurs. Is I lean into it like you would not believe. Oh, we dropped the king and the emperor from up the road's a problem now, and it's a much larger structure for us to have to fight, and all the rules are different. You know what? Spaceships, fuck it. Let's go for this. Let's steal some flying saucers and do some runs and go recruit some mercenaries from another world and bring them back here. And so that emperor's got an entire arsenal of magic weapons and undead and plate mail. And, I got some lightsabers. Let's go do this. Come on. Because why not? If you're going to get over the top, go over the top. If you're going to, we've left the world that we were dealing with behind and now it's a slightly bigger world. Why make it a slightly bigger world? Go for it. Take the biggest chunk of the cake that you possibly can and cram it in your mouth. If you are going to have that jump, well, we need a power leap. We need a power jump. We just beat this thing. We're still in like 10th level, and I can't believe we made it here. But here we are. Now we're on the world stage. What do we do? And you just everyone have a couple of levels. Just take a couple of levels. You take a little while. You get used to it, and now let's engage in some politics. Now let's see how far you can push your personal influence and the influence of your nation, and let's see what you can get out of this. And you blow it up. Yeah, spaceships, sure, why not? Aliens and fantasy aliens and dragons operating in vacuum, sure, why not? Why not? Because once you have left behind that old structure, once you've left behind what everyone was familiar with, if everyone's good with the exploration, go and explore. Make it big, make it dumb, make it a little silly. What's the worst that can happen? You have one last big ridiculous story to tell. Again, this is me, and I have often expressed a penchant for just going big or going home, and I like to go big. I saw Star Wars when I was 10? Yeah, around about there, 9, 10 years old, and it went big. It went big. There was a space station the size of a moon that could blow up a planet, and you had to take fighters up to deal with that because it could deal with a large scale assault. And the scale differential between what the stakes were and what the heroes had to work with, that stuck with me. And the 70s, the 80s, things go big. Battlestar Galactica, Indiana Jones, all this stuff, you go big. So yeah, That's what I was raised with, and that's kind of how my gaming career has progressed. Not to say there's anything wrong with keeping things on a smaller scale. Sure, street level, down to earth. Let's work through our problems and solve mysteries and deal with things on a local level. And you can stay there. You can stay there for an entire campaign. You know, you did, maybe it'll be a short campaign. Maybe get to a point where, like, well, we could bump up, but then we're going to be playing something else entirely. Do we want to just jump to another game? And that's fine. Or you just, if you're going to bump up, send it. Let it be something just ridiculously big and grand. If you're going to jump the shark, jump the biggest shark you've ever seen. With laser beams and adamantine teeth. Because when you're playing a role-playing game, when you're running a role-playing game, when you're involved in this, we are still dealing with a structure built entirely out of shared imagination. And the biggest, meanest, ugliest shark you can possibly come up to with cyborg components and plasma weaponry and some arms with claws coming out of it. The biggest, meanest, most ridiculous shark you can come up with costs you exactly the same amount as the smallest imaginable shark. You spend the same amount of resources creating either shark. One of them you're going to be talking about forever. And one of them was that thing that you dealt with in that one game before you moved on. Cyber bears. Cyber bears and dragons with AIs running concurrent with their brains so that they've got some amount of control over all these things undead that aren't really the product of necromancy, but have had cyberware woven through their bones and what's left of their muscles to keep them moving under the control of someone on a giant wireless network that maybe you can access and maybe you can't, but they're all about to storm into your town, and what are you going to do? And now there's a factory of those things. They're getting cranked out. They're shoving people from all over the country into this giant factory, cranking out these cyber undead under the control of this dragon with an AI on its head. What are you going to do? Jump the shark. Jump it hard. Because there is no point if you're going to abandon the flow of your game, if you feel like you need to step up, if you feel like things just need to be that spiced up, spice it up. Don't hold back. Just either your game is going to it's going to go off in a mediocrity because you don't think you can bump it up safely, or you're going to bump it up a little bit. Oh, okay, that was a thing, but can we go back to the old ways? Or you're going to kick it on its side and light it on fire, and it might go out in a blaze of glory, but that's going to be a blaze of glory. It might carry on to levels you have never expected a game to go to, and then you are really playing. When this thing provides you with an experience you didn't think you could get when you started out, you win. Everyone wins. That's how to win. When you surprise yourself with how astonishing this hobby can be, when you surprise yourself with how amazing your own imagination proves to be to you, when you see that together you have built this story that you just want to keep telling for years down the road. Or maybe you started off with, okay, we've dealt with all the things, so I'm going to take the big bad of the campaign and have him ask you folks for help, and maybe he's going to hire you, and now you got to deal with his bad guys, or maybe you attack him from the inside I don't know where we go from here, but you know what? Running gun battle in a Warforged factory on an airship. Let's go. And you throw a little planning into it. You maybe get some maps and some counters, and you game that out. And suddenly everyone's happy, and you had a good game. And if everything goes well, you are ready to step it up the next time. And if things don't go well, you got a story. And you start working on the next game, because there's always a next game. Well, thanks for following me along with this particular ramble. It's a bathrobe day. I'm a little worn out, but I did want to talk about this concept. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If there's anything else you'd like to hear me talk about, you have your own experiences with jumping the shark in your games, things you'd like me to discuss, questions you'd like to hear me answer, leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Hit the notification bell. Hit the subscribe button. And if you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me on my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps, allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum, this is What Does Matter to Me, and I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.